The recent elections brought a sea change to the state. The Republicans will have control of the House of Representatives for the first time in more than 60 years. That's also prompting some soul searching over in the Democratic side of the tent. Party Chairman Sam Bregman says he will not run for a second term. Mr. Bregman says he takes full responsibility for the poor election results. And House Speaker Kenny Martinez, faced with losing his chair since his party lost the majority, said he will not run for any other leadership post in the minority. And Daniel, naturally, to start with you. You've been on both sides of this. Actually, just on one side, just the minority.
That's it.
You were part of that last 60 years. That's right. Let's start with Sam Bregman. He had some pretty tough language when he first came out, first got the gig. He was going to be Hades itself unleashed. I mean, he was just going to, and it didn't really seem to happen. Did he really have a choice in this at the end of the day?
No, I mean, I think, when you're the leader and when you're the coach and the team fails, you do the admirable thing.
Sure.
You do the honorable thing.
Sure.
And he did it. I think, a deeper conversation is, why he came out with this, I'm going to go get Susanna, and then he stepped back. I think we're going to look back, history's going to look back, it's going to be that email problem. He got caught up in that email deal. It stifled him, his inability to be able to really lead a charge because, he was involved in that whole deal, and that thing took so long that I really think it took the wind out of his sails.
Right.
I think my statement's going to be that I think Kenny Martinez is going to wind up being the leader of the minority.
Oh, interesting.
Party.
Okay.
I think he's going to be it because I think they're going to come back to him and say, we want you to stay in charge.
Okay.
So
I remember you called it for Don Tripp halfway through election night to be speaker.
Don, actually, you actually got to make the choice there, though, didn't you?
You're right. Exactly.
Me personally?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, me. I was just.
Got on the bat phone.
Right. There you go.
Speaker Tripp.
I couldn't get elected to
Speaker
speaker if I was there, so they all listen to me
That's
now.
right.
I'm sure.
That's right.
I think we can finger point till we're blue in the face, but
Yeah.
I think really what it comes down to, and what we haven't been talking a whole lot about, or that I haven't really heard in the public discourse, is that the need for the Democratic Party to actually develop a policy platform that's cohesive, that we can have a message around,
Right.
a narrative to actually draw people in, get people excited. There
Both
isn't
parties.
that. Both parties. Well,
Both parties have to do
I would prefer it for the Democratic Party, but
Let me ask you on that note, Stephanie. There's a lot of angst out there that for Democrats, both nationally and here, that bedrock Democrat issues are not at the surface. The real stuff that made Democrats what they are. Do you know what I mean? It's almost become Republican light in a way. Is it your sense we're going to return to very bedrock things as well?
I hope so.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's what we're seeing in the state is an opportunity for Democrats to get behind issues like early childhood education and minimum wage.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the past several years, we've seen Democrats compromising on those issues.
That's right.
And it's unfortunate, but I think that it definitely does sort of dilute what our message, what our narrative is. I think, was that your attempt to cough over me? I'm just teasing.
Sophie,
But I think, yeah, I'll go ahead.
But on Stephanie's point,
lots.
the machinations and the strategery of being a Democrat now in the minority,
Or lack of.
however, does one take the Republican, National House idea and just say no to everything? Does that work in our context?
I'm not
here?
sure that that's in the Democratic character. I mean,
Okay.
the less conservative party has a tendency to want to move forward. I think it is interesting to note, and I don't think it's just a reflection of progressive versus more conservative politics, but the state legislators who work on more progressive issues, who put forward more progressive ideas, partly I think they can do that because they're in relatively safe districts, but those legislators didn't have the trouble that some other legislators had in this last election. We see, for instance, now I'm blanking on her name, but we see legislators who are surviving, and we see folks like Tim Keller, who has a good progressive background,
That's right.
doing so well, and so I think there's going to have to be this finally post-Clinton, third way kind of conversation about what the party really does.
And on that note, too, Stephen, Christine Trujillo's thrown her hat in for minority leader. I'm wondering what would be the makeup of a minority leader. This idea of someone from the liberal wing of things, someone from the moderate wing of things. Is that better strategically? You see what I mean? There's some interesting choices here.
I think Steph is right. The Democrats are headed toward the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. I also would like to point out that I have maybe a slightly different perspective on the Democrats. It was a crushing loss. They lost the House. But they actually got 30,000 more votes than the Republicans did. That's a very underreported story. So what they did was they lost in the swing districts. they actually did a terrible job at gerrymandering because they created these swing districts. And the reason they lost the swing districts, though, goes back to exactly what Stephanie said.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a progressive plank. I actually looked, because I was doing a show on it, at what these legislators in the swing districts, the Democrats, were saying. I also looked at the Republicans. You know, I couldn't tell what they were running on.
Right.
You know, honestly, I had no idea. It started with Gary King. His message never got out. Martinez kept him pinned down.
Yeah, but I think the difference is their message versus their actions. I think that the ones that lost in the swing district, I'm going to disagree with Sophie. I think they were progressives. They were pretty out of the box progressives. You look at where Conrad won, where Sarah Maestas Barnes won. Those were pretty progressive Democrats.
They were also, I mean,
But-
Congress is a very tight.
I
My
agree.
point, Dan, was
very tight race.
the Democrats and that you had the likely voters came out and they voted for Democrats. What you didn't get was the unlikely voters, because
that's
these
the key
people
Because I think-
they
I
weren't
think-
stimulated
Well,
enough
but
by the
see,
overall
I don't-
message.
I think what happened was that we may be agreeing, but
Yeah,
what
I
I
think
think was
we are.
happening, what was happening was I think that the mail they sent out was different than the actions they portrayed, and so I think the Democrat voters, the liberal voters, the progressive voters, they got confused about this stuff because Republicans were just saying, look, they're very progressive. They were pushing out the Republican vote, and then there were Democrats that were like, well, they're not liberal enough or they're too liberal. I think the Democrat Party in New Mexico is going through what we went through when I first got elected, which was a real battle between the right-wing Republican Party and the moderates in the Republican Party and the Christian conservatives. And we had this battle at that time saying, if you're not pro-life, if you're not to define marriage, then you're not a Republican. That's kind of moved in the Republican Party. And I think now in the Democrat Party, there's a real, are you a Democrat or are you a progressive? And I think that battle is ensuing right now, especially in the state of New Mexico. And I think what you're finding is that if you want to be a progressive, that may work in certain districts outside in more conservative counties around New Mexico that have been historically conservative. That progressive moniker doesn't work real well, and I think they're going to have to find a way to keep their progressive roots, but repackage that statement to get people
The
interested in what they're
Democratic
doing.
Party platform, and I actually brought it for you, Dan, to see if you wanted to sign
Oh
on.
my goodness.
No, but no, in all seriousness, it's a really progressive document, and so I think you're exactly right. I think we're actually agreeing on that.
But,
as well.
but Stephanie, is the
when-
body English out there progressive? I
No,
mean, would
that's
the average
problem.
person?
That's the problem,
Okay.
I think. And also one thing that we haven't talked about is the drastically, historically low turnout that we saw. 40% of the electorate voting.
But that's precisely what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Because you're not giving the unlikely Democratic vote, most of them tend to be Democrats, a reason to come out and vote. So we had, about 39% turnout. So unless you give a strong overall messaging, not just the pamphlets that come to your house every other day.
values-based narrative that people
Right.
can say, I'm excited to go support this candidate.
Let's see how this all works from leadership on down. This is going to be a very interesting session on that
Kenny
regard. Coming
Martinez
up.
will be the minority leader.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. Coming up next, we go on the clock.